Verstappen just revealed the Silverstone crash was not a normal mistake. It was the same dangerous Red Bull failure, again. At Stowe, one of the fastest corners at the British Grand Prix, Verstappen was running third when the rear of the RB22 suddenly let go. He spun into the gravel, got stuck, triggered the late safety car, and scored 0 points. But after the race, he explained the real problem. The rear wing did not close fully. That means the car lost rear downforce while he was turning into a high-speed corner, the exact moment a driver needs the rear of the car to be locked to the track. And Verstappen said this was the same issue that hit him in Austria. 1 time can be unlucky. 2 times becomes dangerous. Those were not just frustrated words. Red Bull admitted the rear wing issue was on them, apologized to Verstappen, and accepted that a podium had been wasted. That changes everything. Because this was not Verstappen pushing too hard. This was not a simple spin. This was a repeated technical failure that turned one of the best drivers in the world into a passenger at high speed. A crash at Stowe. A furious radio message. A second rear wing failure after Austria. A Red Bull apology. A formal investigation. And now the biggest question in Formula One is not whether Verstappen still has the speed. It is whether he can trust the RB22 when he commits to the next fast corner. Subscribe to the channel. To understand why Verstappen's reveal after Silverstone hit so hard, you have to understand what a rear wing actually means to a Formula One driver. It is not just a part at the back of the car. It is confidence. At high speed, the rear wing helps push the back of the car into the track. That pressure gives the rear tires grip. And that grip is what allows a driver to turn into a corner like Stowe with commitment, with trust, and with the belief that the car will stay underneath him. Without that rear grip, the car becomes something else. It becomes unpredictable. And unpredictability at high speed is terrifying. That is why Verstappen's explanation changed the story completely. If he had simply pushed too hard, the crash would have been painful, but understandable. Drivers make mistakes. Even the best drivers in the world can lose the rear when they are chasing lap time, fighting for position, or asking too much from the tires. But Verstappen said the rear wing did not close fully. That makes the accident different. Because if the rear wing is not fully closed when the driver turns into a fast corner, the car is missing downforce at the exact moment it needs it most. The rear tires do not press into the track the way the driver expects. The balance changes suddenly. The car stops behaving like the car he committed to a split second earlier. And by then, it is too late. At Stowe, there is no time for a calm correction. The speed is too high. The load is too heavy. The corner arrives too fast. Once the rear lets go in that kind of situation, even Verstappen can become a passenger. That is the most frightening part. Not that he crashed. That he may have had no real chance to save it. And that is exactly why the Austria connection matters so much. Verstappen said it was the same problem again, like qualifying in Austria. That one detail turned Silverstone from an incident into a warning. Because one rear wing issue can be treated as a freak failure. A painful one, yes, but still something a team can isolate, study, and promise to fix. But the same kind of failure appearing again, in another high-speed corner, on another weekend, is a completely different matter. That is no longer bad luck. That is a pattern Red Bull has to confront immediately. And Verstappen knew it. That is why his words after the race carried so much weight. He did not only talk about losing points. He talked about danger. He said that 1 time might be acceptable, but 2 times becomes dangerous. He said he could have really hurt himself. He said he was lucky in Austria, and lucky again at Silverstone. Those words are not normal racing frustration. They are a warning from the driver inside the car. Because from the outside, fans see the spin. They see the gravel. They see the safety car. They see a furious radio message. They see it did not finish. But Verstappen felt the car fail underneath him. That is a different experience. A driver can accept being beaten. He can accept a rival making a better move. He can accept tire degradation. He can accept a strategy mistake, even if it makes him angry. But a driver struggles to accept a car that suddenly removes the grip he was relying on. That feels like betrayal. And in Formula One, the relationship between driver and car is built on trust more than comfort. Verstappen does not need an easy car. He has never needed that. He can drive a car that feels sharp, nervous, aggressive, and difficult. In fact, that kind of car can suit him if it gives him the front end he wants and responds honestly. But no driver wants a car that changes its aerodynamic behavior at the moment of commitment. That is the line. A difficult car can still be a weapon. An unpredictable car becomes a threat. And that is what Silverstone exposed. The RB22 may still have speed. Red Bull even admitted Verstappen had strong pace on the medium tires. The team principal said the podium was there. That makes the accident even more painful, because this was not a race where Red Bull had nothing to lose. They had something valuable. They had a chance to recover. They had a chance to score. They had a chance to turn a difficult weekend into a podium finish. And then the rear wing issue took it away. That is why Red Bull's apology matters. The team publicly accepted responsibility. They said the issue was on them. They apologized to Max. They admitted this was not the first time a problem had sent him off track. And they admitted the podium was wasted. That kind of statement is important because it removes any serious attempt to frame this as pure driver error. Red Bull knew the car failed him. And once a team admits that, the pressure changes. Now the question is not whether Verstappen could have done better. The question is whether Red Bull can guarantee this will not happen again. Because if they cannot, every future high-speed corner becomes mentally heavier. Every time Verstappen opens the rear wing on a straight, the next braking zone becomes a test of belief. Every time the system has to return to its closed position, the driver has to trust that it will happen instantly. Every time he turns into a corner where rear downforce is critical, the memory of Austria and Silverstone can return. Will it close? That question should never exist in a driver's mind. Not at that speed. Not with that load. Not in a car designed to live at the limit. And yet, after two similar incidents, Red Bull has given Verstappen a reason to ask it. That is why this is bigger than a normal did not finish. A did not finish costs points. A trust failure can cost performance for races afterward. Because confidence is not a switch the team can simply turn back on. It has to be rebuilt through proof. The car has to behave correctly again and again. The wing has to close every time. The telemetry has to show stability. The driver has to feel that the rear is there when he commits. Only then does the doubt start to fade. And until that happens, Red Bull's rivals will watch everything. They will watch the rear wing. They will watch Verstappen's confidence in high-speed corners. They will watch whether Red Bull changes parts, settings, or procedures. They will watch whether Verstappen sounds calm, or still angry. They will watch whether the RB22 looks fast, or just fragile. Because rivals do not ignore weakness. They hunt it. If Ferrari, Mercedes, McLaren, or any other team sees Red Bull fighting a dangerous technical issue, they will push harder. They will keep pressure on Verstappen. They will force him to attack. They will make Red Bull run the car closer to the edge. They will try to turn a technical doubt into a strategic advantage. That is how Formula One works. Nobody waits for you to recover. And that is why Silverstone may become a turning point. Before this, rivals might have looked at Verstappen and asked whether they could match his pace. After this, they may start asking whether the RB22 can be trusted to finish the fight. That is a huge shift. Because Verstappen himself is still Verstappen. His speed has not vanished. His racecraft has not disappeared. His aggression has not suddenly become weaker. But if the car beneath him becomes uncertain, the entire competitive picture changes. A champion can fight rivals. He cannot fight a rear wing that refuses to do what it should. That is the brutal truth. And it is why this accident felt so alarming. The same issue had already appeared in Austria. Red Bull had already seen how dangerous the dynamic could be. Then Silverstone repeated the theme, and this time it cost Verstappen a likely podium and triggered a late safety car that changed the race ending. That is not a small failure. That is a team-level alarm. Because the rear wing is not just about lap time. It is part of the car's safety envelope. It decides how the car behaves when speed, load, and commitment come together. If that system fails to return properly before corner entry, the driver is being asked to turn into a corner with a car that is no longer the one he expected. That is why Verstappen was furious. The radio message was raw because the moment was raw. He was stuck in the gravel. The race was gone. The points were gone. The podium was gone. But underneath all of that was something deeper. He knew what had happened. He knew the car had done it again. And that is why his reveal after the race matters more than the crash itself. The crash showed the consequence. His explanation revealed the cause. And Red Bull's apology confirmed the responsibility. That combination is devastating. Because now the team cannot hide behind uncertainty. The issue is public. The driver has named it. The team has accepted it. The paddock understands the safety implication. And every future Red Bull session will be watched through that lens. Has the rear wing been fixed? That will be the question. Not only by fans. By rivals. By Verstappen. By Red Bull itself. And if the answer is not clear, the pressure will grow with every lap. But the second layer is even more damaging for Red Bull, because this failure did not just cost Verstappen a result. It attacked the most important relationship in Formula One. The relationship between driver and machine. A driver like Verstappen does not go through Stowe with hesitation. He commits. He trusts that when the car reaches that moment, the systems will behave exactly as expected. The tires will load. The rear wing will be where it needs to be. The downforce will arrive. The car will give him the platform to make the corner. That is the silent agreement. The driver gives full commitment. The car gives full support. At Silverstone, that agreement broke. And once it breaks twice, the damage becomes much deeper. Because Austria was supposed to be the warning. Red Bull had already seen a similar failure. Verstappen had already been put into a dangerous situation. The team had already understood that something about the rear wing behavior could remove aerodynamic performance at exactly the wrong moment. Then Silverstone happened. Same kind of problem. Same kind of danger. Same kind of helplessness. And this time, it happened while Verstappen was running third, with a podium realistically available, in a race where Red Bull had finally started to show better pace on the medium tires. That is why this hurt so much. It was not just a bad car on a bad day. It was a car that gave Verstappen a reason to believe a result was possible, then took it away in the most violent way possible. A slow car is frustrating. A dangerous car is unacceptable. That is the line Red Bull crossed in Verstappen's mind. And the way he described it after the race was so important because he did not hide behind polite language. He made the issue simple. The rear wing did not close fully. The car lost downforce. He spun off. It had already happened before. And now, he was fed up. That phrase matters. Fed up. Not confused. Not disappointed. Fed up. It suggests this was not just a one-moment emotional reaction. It suggests Verstappen feels the problem has gone beyond what a driver should have to tolerate. Because in Formula 1, drivers accept risk. They accept crashes. They accept that the sport is dangerous. But they do not accept repeated technical failures that make them passengers at high speed. That is the critical difference. There is a kind of danger drivers choose. And there is a kind of danger the car forces on them. Verstappen can choose to brake late. He can choose to attack a rival. He can choose to hold the outside line. He can choose to push through a risky lap when the reward is worth it. But he did not choose a rear wing that failed to close. He did not choose to lose downforce at corner entry. He did not choose to become a passenger at Stowe. That is why the anger was so intense. Because the control was taken away from him. And for Verstappen, control is everything. His whole driving identity is built on commanding the car at the edge. He is aggressive, but not random. He is forceful, but not blind. He feels the grip, understands the limit, and trusts himself to live right next to disaster without stepping over it. But if the car changes the limit without warning, his entire skill set is undermined. The driver is no longer managing the edge. The edge is moving underneath him. And that is one of the worst things a racing driver can experience. This is why Red Bull's apology, while necessary, cannot be the end of the story. Laurent Mekies publicly took responsibility. He said the issue was on Red Bull. He apologized to Max. He admitted this was not the first time a problem had taken him off track. He also said the team wasted what would have been a podium. That is strong language. But strong language does not rebuild trust on its own. Red Bull now has to prove, with engineering, that the rear wing will close every time Verstappen needs it to close. Not most times. Every time. Because a rear wing system cannot be almost reliable. Almost reliable is not enough when the car is turning into a corner like Stowe. Almost reliable is not enough when the driver is carrying huge speed and depending on rear downforce to survive the entry. Almost reliable is not enough when the same type of failure has already happened twice. That is the uncomfortable truth. For Red Bull, this is not only a performance fix. It is a safety fix. It is a confidence fix. It is a championship fix. Because if Verstappen loses confidence in the wing system, the consequences spread everywhere. He may attack high-speed corners with less certainty. Red Bull may choose safer settings. The team may sacrifice straight-line speed to protect rear stability. Engineers may become more conservative. Strategy may become less aggressive because the team cannot afford another failure. And rivals will sense it. They will watch Red Bull's rear wing like a target. They will study whether Verstappen opens it as early. They will study whether the car looks stable when the wing closes. They will study whether he commits into fast corners with the same violence as before.